Over the course of NBA history, there will always be a couple busts in every NBA draft. Certain teams will always pass up on generational type talents, which ends up haunting the franchise for decades. There's been many disappointing players selected in the top 3. Busts like Kwame Brown, Michael Olowokandi, and Darko Milicic were very bad NBA players, but nowhere close to the worst drafted in their respective spots. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Today, we'll take a look at the absolute worst NBA players taken from every spot in the lottery, which started in 1985. The first overall picks, a couple nominees since we won't go past 85. Michael Bust Olowokandi from the 98 draft, Kwame Bust Brown 2001. I'm excluding Greg Oden from this list since he got injured and never fully proved himself. Andrea Bust Bargnani 2006 and Anthony Bust Bennett 2013. Of those 4, the answer is 100% absolutely positively Anthony Bust Bennett. Averaged a pathetic 4.4 points on 39% shooting in 151 total games, out the league by 23 years old, 4 teams in 4 seasons, a recipe for disaster. At least those other 3 guys lasted at least 9 seasons in the NBA and had some decent moments. I can't imagine a number 1 pick that'll end up worse than Bennett in the future. The second overall pick, the nominees, Darko Milicic, at least he had somewhat of a career. His pick was just as bad as anybody's. Since superstars Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh went after him, strolled Miles Swift from 2000, who had all the athleticism in the world, but did average double figures for a couple years, combined with being in the worst draft in the modern era. Hasheem Thabeet, who was picked above James Harden and Steph Curry. Derek Williams 2011, picked over the likes of Klay Thompson and Kawhi Leonard, but I'm going with the 7'3" Hasheem Thabeet, who had absolutely no skills whatsoever, an absolute nightmare, averaged just 2.2 points, 2.7 rebounds, 5 seasons in the NBA. Easily the worst second overall pick, which just goes to show, even if somebody played well in college, it doesn't mean their skills will translate to the NBA. The third overall pick, the nominees, Chris Washburn from the 86 draft out of NC State, picked ahead of stars like Dennis Rodman and Mark Price. Darius Miles in the 2000 draft never became the star he was anticipated to be out of high school, lacked a jump shot. Adam Morrison of the underwhelming 06 draft was essentially a god in college, drew comparisons to the great Larry Bird. Jahlil Okafor, it's officially safe to call him a bust, mixed this list because his game doesn't fit in the modern NBA. Very slow, a terrible defender. He might honestly not be in the NBA much longer after 2020. If things continue to trend south for him, I'm not sure if he'll ever play a key role on any team. The answer, surprisingly, not Adam Morrison, but Chris Washburn. The 6'11" center was picked by the Warriors, slowed down by injuries, plus having drug problems. Werlin Bias was picked right before him, died of a cocaine overdose. Washburn was supposed to be the next Shaquille O'Neal before Shaq. Lasted just 72 games over 2 seasons, was always late to practice, didn't behave well, averaged just 3.1 points, 2.4 rebounds, received a lifetime ban from the league in 1989 after 3 failed drug tests, spent time in jail, now sober for 19 years. Very unfortunate, he made many bad decisions. The 4th overall pick, the candidates, Marcus Fizer from the 2000 draft, picked by the Chicago Bulls, lasted 6 seasons, averaged 9.6 points. Tyrese Thomas lasted 8 years, picked in the 06 draft, posted averages of under 8 and 5. Wesley Johnson and his underwhelming 7 points somehow lasted 9 seasons. It's also safe to say Dragon Bender will go down one of the biggest busts. Now with the Warriors, averages under 6 and 4, a career 40% shooter. If things trend the same way in a few years, I'll say Bender's the worst 4th overall pick. But I'm still going with Wesley Johnson since he made no impact wherever he went. Never averaged over double digits in any season, put up empty stats on the Lakers, picked ahead of stars like DeMarcus Cousins and Paul George. The 6'7" small forward was already 23 years old, out of Syracuse, couldn't shoot well, doesn't rebound, defend, or pass well, never found a consistent role in the NBA, became super unplayable his last couple seasons. The 5th overall pick, Jonathan Bender out of high school in the 99 draft. At 6'11", his game was very similar to Kevin Durant, but had too many injuries, which cut his career short. Nicholas Skitishvili, 2002, lasted 4 seasons in the league, made absolutely 0 impact. Sheldon Williams in the 06 draft, lasted 6 seasons, averaged 4.5 points, ended up with 7 different teams. Thomas Robinson was out the NBA after 5 seasons, had a lot of upside coming into the draft, never developed. It's also safe to put Mario Hezonja on this list. Now in his 5th season, not very effective for the Blazers. I don't see him sticking around the NBA for much longer. I'm going with Nicholas Giccichvili, picked ahead of Nene and Amari Stoudemire. His Nuggets won 17 games as a rookie, averaged an awful 2.9 points, 1.8 rebounds. Being 7 feet, teams were searching for the next Dirk Nowitzki. Shot under 29% from the field as a rookie, the perfect definition of a European bust. At least he enjoyed a long international career, playing pro ball for more than 2 decades. The 6th overall pick. The later picks is where more busts will come. With the worst of the worst, William Bedford, a 7-footer out of Memphis, played 6 seasons in the league, averaged just 4.1 points. Just like Washburn, Bedford had drug problems, never reached his full potential. Robert Tractor Trailer, famously drafted by the Mavs, the guy traded for Dirk Nowitzki in the '99 draft, played 7 seasons in the league, averaged under 5 and 4 at 6'8", over 280 pounds. Trailer tragically passed away from a heart attack at age 34 in 2011. Johnny Flynn played 3 total seasons in the NBA. He's on this list since he was picked ahead of Steph Curry. That's why I left out DeMar Johnson and DeJohn Wagner. Ekpe Udoh lasted 7 seasons, averaged just 3.5 points, 3 rebounds as a 6'10 center. Jan Vesely, drafted in the 2011 draft, 3 total seasons in the league. I'm going with Vesely since the Wizards wasted their pick, played his final NBA game at 23 years old, averaged 3.6 points, 3.5 rebounds, an absolute travesty. He was picked ahead of future stars like Kemba Walker, Klay Thompson, and Kawhi Leonard. At least his career in Europe has been a success. Won EuroLeague MVP in 2019. The 7th pick, Bobby Hurley, it's unfair to call him a true bust, was involved in a serious car accident during his rookie season, had life-threatening injuries. Although he was okay, his athletic abilities were diminished. While Chris Min played 9 seasons, averaged 7.5 points, over 5 rebounds, was out the NBA before 30 years old, picked way too high. Eddie Griffin out of Seton Hall was decent his first 2 years with Houston, averaged around 8 and 6, didn't play his 3rd year due to rehab with alcohol addiction. His last 3 seasons with the Timberwolves continued to get worse. Bismack Biyombo, the 2011 draft, with many speculations surrounding his age, shockingly still 27 years old, his 9th season, averages 5 and 6 for his career. I'm going with Eddie Griffin, picked 3 spots ahead of Joe Johnson, also ahead of Richard Jefferson, Zach Randolph, Tony Parker, and Gilbert Arenas as well, and was already out the league by age 24, continued with his off-court problems. His life ended tragically after barreling into a moving train as he was drunk driving, was just 25 years old, one of the most terrible endings for any professional athlete. The worst 8th pick, Bo Kimbo, picked by the Clippers in the 1990 draft, lasted 3 seasons, averaged 5.5 points. Rafael Arujo, the 6'11 center from Brazil, lasted 3 seasons as well, picked by the Raptors, put up even worse numbers of 2.8 points, 2.8 rebounds in the 04 draft. Joe Alexander at 6'8 in the 08 draft was even worse, lasted 2 seasons, averaged just 4.2 points, 67 total games, was a good athlete in college but couldn't shoot or defend. Most recent picks include Nick Stauskas, averaged under 7 a game on 39% shooting. Stanley Johnson, 6.6 points, 37% shooting, likely won't be in the league much longer. I'm going with Joe Alexander, one of the most unproductive lottery picks all time. At least his career worked out overseas. The 9th pick, starting with the 6'8 Ed O'Bannon in the 95 draft, lasted 5 seasons of averaging 5 points, 128 games, came off winning a national title with UCLA, being named most outstanding player. O'Bannon's most famous for filing a lawsuit against the NCAA, demanding college athletes to be paid. Mike Sweetney of the 2003 draft, picked by the Knicks, was out the NBA after 4 seasons, averaged 6.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, battled with depression, but doing a lot better these days. Also played in the Big 3 League. Ike Diagu, picked by Golden State in the 05 draft, played 6 seasons, averaged just 6 and 3, but he wasn't the biggest bust the team drafted. The following year, selected Patrick O'Brien out of Bradley, had 4 unproductive seasons of 2.1 points, 1.4 rebounds as a 7-footer, didn't play against the best competition in college, was even released from a Chinese team overseas due to lack of effort and poor production. The answer is Patrick O'Brien, who shouldn't even have been an NBA player in the first place, let alone being picked so high 2 years later. After JaVale McGee went 18th overall by the Wizards, he was compared to O'Brien, and JaVale was like, no offense to Trash Chick O'Brien, I don't know the man. Who knew Golden State had a bad eye for scouting talents before drafting Steph Curry? The 10th pick, starting with Luke Jackson, out of Oregon, lasted 4 seasons, averaged 3.5 points. Mohamed Sane of the Supersonics from the 06 draft, 3 short seasons, 47 combined games. Jimmer Fredette was a college legend at BYU, but couldn't find his role, bounced around, at least capable of averaging 40 in China. And of course, it's safe to say Don Maker, who knows how old he really is, averages under 5 and 3 for his career, likely won't be in the league much longer. Of all these guys, I'm going with Sane, who was dreadful on all cylinders, averaged 2.2 points, 1.6 rebounds, 47 total games. The biggest travesty of them all, comparing him to Dikembe Mutombo during the draft, at least he was bad enough for Seattle to land the number 2 pick the year after in Kevin Durant. The 11th pick, Fran Vasquez, drafted by the Orlando Magic in the 05 class out of Spain, didn't play a single minute in the NBA, remained in Spain, and hasn't been productive, a complete waste of a pick. Other bad ones includes Todd Fuller of the 96 class, picked 2 spots ahead of Kobe Bryant. Spent 5 seasons, averaged under 4 and 3 at 6'11". Jerome Moiso, a 6'10 big man from France in the 2000 draft, lasted 5 seasons under 3 and 3. Trajan Langdon, a 6'3" 2 guard out of Duke, averaged 5.4 points in 3 seasons from the 99 draft. Since Vasquez didn't even want to play in the NBA, he's the worst of them all on this list. Orlando could have selected Danny Granger, Jared Jack, or Monte Ellis. The 12th pick, Kenny Green in the 85 draft, the first year of the lottery, out of Wake Forest, lasted 60 total games, 2 seasons with Washington and Philly, 4.4 points, only famous for being picked right before Karl Malone, an absolute travesty of a decision by the Bullets. Alexander Vidojevic, who 99% of you never heard of, taking in the 99 draft at 7'3", 250, lasted 15 games, 1.7 points, drafted right ahead of Corey Maggette. Of course, who can forget about Robert Swift, the white guy with the tattoos. In the 04 draft out of high school, he's still only 34 years old today, averaged 4.3 points, under 4 rebounds, 4 seasons, became a millionaire by 18, a junkie at age 27, got into trouble with drugs and the law. After playing overseas in 2011, Swift got back in shape, played professional ball again in Spain in 2018. Yaroslav Korolov, an awful pick by the Clippers in the 05 draft from Russia, lasted 44 games, averaged a whopping 1.1 points, but I'm going with Kenny Green as the biggest disappointment since he was picked ahead of Karl Malone. The 13th pick, Michael Smith, the Boston Celtics, 1989, 3 total seasons, 5 points a game out of BYU. Marcus Haslip in the 02 draft, picked by the Bucks, 4 seasons, 3.5 points. Julian Wright in the 07 draft by the Hornets, also 4 seasons, 3.9 points. Giorgio Papagiannis in the 2017 draft, no longer in the NBA after 2 seasons. I'm going with Michael Smith, who might not be the worst, but picked ahead of All-Stars in Tim Hardaway and Sean Kemp. Finally, the 14th pick, Rich King from the 91 draft by the Sonics, Scott Haskin, 93 out of Oregon State, Yika Dare from the 94 class, picked by the Nets, passed away at age 31 in 2004. William Avery, the point guard from Duke, 3 seasons with the Timberwolves from the 99 class, averaged 2.7 points. I'm going with Scott Haskin, who played 27 total games, averaged 2 points, 2 rebounds. Those were the worst players drafted at every spot in the lottery. Who do you guys think's the worst player I mentioned on this list? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I love all of you. See you next time.